Well, hey there, folks. How's it going? Um, can everyone hear me okay? Sounding.
I can see you, folks.
Yeah, one second.
How's the weather in Colorado? It's nice
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Vinny. I'm just going to introduce everyone. They can't see you yet. So, is it coming through? Just send a thumbs up or something. Um, okay. Hey guys. Well, hey, how you doing? So I'm excited today. You know, in 2019, we had a witness to one of the triangular UFOs from the greater New York area. Vincent, Vincent Wims. And he, they can't quite hear you yet, Vinny. I'll turn you up in a sec. So, uh, he was our wrestling coach in high school. And I found out from a friend, Dom, that there had been a sighting of this triangular UFO decades later, as some of you know the story. And uh, I'll put the link in the chat here for uh, the original broadcast. I'm not saying you need to watch it now, but uh, this was the original show, and uh, Vinny had actually seen this with the wrestling team, and I just found out about it a few years ago, and it was quite exciting. And we've had an update since then because our mutual friend Dom, and I've known Dom since kindergarten. That's how long I've known Dominic, way back in the 60s. It's a long time ago. And he found these news articles that from that day when this happened, or the next day, talking about the uh, the sighting by Vinny and the wrestling team, which was kids in my would believe it would have been the 10th grade group in high school. This is 1979. So before we begin, I just wanted to show you, some of the pictures. This is a photo of one of the Hudson Valley UFO. This was mostly seen from the 1980s uh, onward. This is an actual photo of it. But what I'm doing right now, Vinny, I'll introduce you in a second. I'm just showing some photos of it from online. It was this sort of black structured craft. Sometimes it was triangular. Sometimes it looked more like this V-shaped wing with lights underneath it and so forth. And there were lots of witnesses. And in Black Swan Ghosts, I actually interviewed a witness to this Hudson Valley Triangle. And this witness had seen it from the Bronx. Actually, it was in Washington Heights. And she had seen it out the window over the Hudson River with her mom. And she could never quite remember if it had been like a dream or what, but she remembered people looking out the windows. And I recently read another account of someone talking about the same time period, the early 80s. They said they saw it from the Bronx, from the Inman Hill area. So it could have been the same sighting. And one of my crop circle tour participants, I just forgot this now after reading the chapter. By the way, this is the new cover for Black Swan Ghosts by the fabulous Mark Tuckman, also from our class of 80, 81. He wasn't on the wrestling team though, but he did he also did. I have to show he did. He also did Dark Matter Monsters, which I know you're all great fans of. Thank you very much. And he's redid. This is actually there's a newer version than even this. But Pam had seen it also living in Yorktown Heights, and she said it was about the size of 2 school buses, V shape, one red light at the front, totally silent. Not like, there were some counter explanations put forward about the Hudson Valley Triangle. It's a formation of Cessnas. Well, Pam said there was no sound. Okay. I've talked to other witnesses who've seen it, who live in Westchester, friends of my mom. And this is where I grew up. So this is something that I'm just going to recommend a book that you could take a look at. This is David Marler's book, Triangular UFOs, an estimate of the situation. Now, he points out in this book, folks, that these sightings go back to the 30s. There was one in Connecticut going back 30s, 20s, I think, and Alaska. It's not like this is entirely a new phenomena. But the wave of sightings in the Hudson Valley allegedly starts in the 80s. There's a mass sighting over the Indian Point nuclear power plant at the Buchanan, New York. You can see it from what used to be called the Tappan Zee Bridge, right off to the right there, the whole complex. And 30 guards saw one of these triangular objects. And they called for help from Stewart Air Force Base, which sent in a helicopter gunship, but the object left. But they were about to start shooting at it. And this particular reactor that it hovered over was, according to what I read in the book by J. Allen Hynek and others, called Night Siege from, I believe, 1981. And I'll see if I can pull a picture of that in a moment. That reactor, the sole purpose of that reactor was to send power to an NSA station in Cheshire, Connecticut, which is actually where my grandmother, my Swiss German grandmother, Oma, used to live, in Cheshire. And that station, which we could see out her back window, this listening post, this dish, was apparently powered, if this is correct, from that reactor at Indian Point. And this is the one where a vehicle was seen hovering 30 feet over the reactor. It was later discovered there was a crack in that reactor. Was it hovering there to point this out to people? There's counter argument that these, triangular craft, TR-3B, you guys know the drill. Is it man-made? Is it government? In any case, we can't answer that now, but some of the behavior was awfully strange. So we are going to revisit this 79 sighting with Vincent right now. I'm going to turn up your volume, Vinny. They haven't heard you. We couldn't get Vincent on Skype. We were attempting. We're going to use the old phone, which is, Vinny, we used this last time in 2019. Do you remember?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah, so welcome, Vinny. I've turned up your volume so people can hear you.
I think I got a newer phone since then. I have a Galaxy flip phone, Android.
It's sounding good.
So, yeah, the picture would be really good too. I apologize, people, but I'm sure if you look, you'll see me on YouTube and all kinds of Facebook and stuff. Not YouTube, Facebook a lot.
Facebook. We'll give your contact info.
So
sure.
I'm doing some martial arts as well.
So that's right. So Vinny was our wrestling coach then, and now he's an accomplished martial artist. We call him Sifu Vinny. And Vinny, you told me you're a musician too. Is that right? What do you play?
Absolutely. You never see me? I thought Dominic told you.
I did.
Yeah.
What do you play?
Oh yeah. I'm a session drummer.
You're a session drummer.
Yeah. Cool. And I also play guitar and sing, and I play harmonica, and I play blues, and I play open mics. Cool. And I'm pretty well known in the Charlotte area down here, and I'm pretty well known up in New Jersey.
Awesome.
As a blues guitarist.
Cool. That is awesome. I didn't know that about you until your recent
I've been playing for a long time.
Awesome. Martial arts.
Pretty good following on Facebook.
We will check that out. I didn't know that. I just got introduced to you.
known for it. I see you play guitar.
Yeah.
I write music and I do guitars as well.
Nice, because it's all resonance. It doesn't matter how you look at it.
I try to be a Renaissance man.
You are. You are.
Jack of all trades and not master of none, so to speak.
Well, that used to be considered, before people were so specialized as we are nowadays, that was considered to be a high level of living, to be good at everything. And early scientists were people that were often good at lots of different things. So that's a cool thing. So
it's funny you say that, because I was kind of I was an oddity, but I went to Ardsley High School, and I am so blessed going to Ardsley High School.
Let me, hold on a second.
I had a learning disability growing up.
Okay, I'm putting up a map of the greater New York area on the screen right now so people can see this. Okay, so it's showing Yonkers, New York, Scarsdale, Mamaroneck. Ardsley would be over there, closer, folks, to Dobbs Ferry along the Hudson. Yeah, go ahead, Vinny.
Yeah, and I actually had my 50th high school reunion at Ardsley last week.
Got it.
I couldn't get to it because the weather was so bad, and coming from North Carolina, driving with a dog, and having some pool tournaments rescheduled for that weekend, really put a hamper on me getting up there. I really love to have been there, but I'm very upset. But people have reached out to me, wondering what happened and stuff, and it was very nice to hear.
Yeah,
I also coached at Ardsley, so
you coached at Ardsley.
I coached at Ardsley after Edgemont.
Okay, so I want to say something to folks. I never met Vinny before in person. I wasn't on the wrestling team. I was on the debate team. And I probably passed Vinny in the hall. We probably saw each other in the gym. I just wasn't introduced to him till decades later. Now, like 2019. You get this? And we were at Edgemont in the late 70s. I mean, this is when Zeppelin was playing at Madison Square Garden. And groups like that. And Van Halen. I did. I saw him in 77, Vinny. That was awesome.
Yeah, I would love to go.
6 nights.
I was begging to get in for tickets. I have another friend that was there too.
And that was, I can still hear John Bonham's drums in my, they were thunderous in that huge Madison Square.
Jimmy Page was amazing.
Oh, Jimmy Page.
I'll tell you. I can tell you, Sammy, and how blessed these kids are nowadays with YouTube. And how they can learn anything.
Anything.
Precisely.
Yes.
How it's played. Whether it's drums, whether it's guitar, whether it's bass, whether it's every instrument in the band, organ. Where I, as a kid, and as a good drummer in high school, had to, and I was blessed to, I was brought up listening to the jazz greats, Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich. I had a friend, and I'll give a shout out. I don't care. His name was Bobby Leonard, and he is I think he might be a professor of music in a university. He went to Bridgeport, but he played in bands one famous one that I can't remember, but he played throughout the bars in the White Plains and Whitesdale, that area. And if you went to any of the clubs, you've probably seen a band called Night Sprite, and he was in it.
Right. And awesome. Yes.
He played Vibe as well, and he's the one that got me into the drummers. I was playing rock, and he was playing Louis Dawson, Buddy Rich. Buddy got me. He took lessons with a famous drummer in the area from Dobbs Ferry named Bobby Colomby. And Bobby Colomby played for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that launched my career as a drummer. And then later, Eric Clapton launched my career as a guitar player. And at the age of 13, I played a knuckle-busting acoustic guitar, learning that my sister had, and he had gone to college and nobody played, and I taught myself. I'm totally self-taught.
Great, great. No, that's fascinating. Those of us who grew up in the New York area feel especially privileged musically because of the density of music in that area. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, especially coming from Ardsley.
Yeah, there was just so much going on.
I'm not trying
And
to pat myself on
the
the back.
Capitol Theater was there in Portchester, and it's been reopened again. And that was the Capitol Theater. Jerry Garcia always said that was his favorite place to play in the.
His daughter is part owner now.
And his daughter is the part owner. So Jerry Garcia said that Capitol Theater, and I've been there a few times because it was reopened.
I love the Capitol Theater.
It was the Grateful Dead's favorite place to play, and there's it's a theater. I don't know if it was open when I was there in high school, or I didn't know about it, but it's open again now, and you can.
I don't know when you were in high school, but I saw Little Feat there. I saw, God, what was the band I was there that did Dance With Me, I Want to Be Your Partner.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
That was Firefall. Firefall.
Something like, no, it was another band. I forget what they're called. And it was with, what's the famous guitar player in that band's name? John Hall. It was with John Hall.
Hall and Oates.
No, I'll get
John Hall. Well, Vinny, can you take us back to that day that it was right before Christmas, right? Am I right?
Right. Yeah, actually, that article, if you have that article available.
Let's bring up the article, and so you can see this map, folks. You can see Inwood Hill here. Now, Inwood Hill, I'm showing a close-up here. It's right across from Fort Lee, as you can see, in Englewood Cliffs. This link I just put in the chat that ends in a small G. This is another witness. This was Scarlett. And she, you may not have seen this interview. This was a number of years ago. And she had seen it with her family from the Fort Lee area, or just north of, probably closer to Englewood. It was somewhere around there. She saw it with her family. The same lights. She got this very weird and giddy feeling, seeing it slowly hover over the Hudson River and so forth. So we're all talking about the same area. Vinny's sighting is farther to the other side here. I'll just put the map up, and then I'll let Vinny explain what happened. Vinny's sighting is, as you can see here, in Mamaroneck, which is not far from Scarsdale, Harrison, Tuckahoe. You can see New Rochelle, this area over here. So, Vinny, take us back to that day, and let's look at the articles. Go. What was your recollection of what happened? Then we'll look at the articles.
Okay, I can tell you, I'll go through the whole thing. I was coaching a tournament, and I wish I could punch up the article that you sent me on it. But anyhow, it was at the school that you probably have. If you see the article, if you have it on the screen there, I forget what the name of that school was.
Mamaroneck High School.
It was Mamaroneck High School, but the road or whatever it was called something else.
Weaver Street. It was over Weaver Street.
That's right.
I've got the article up now. This is the first article that Dom sent me. It's called UFO Report Filed. It stands alone.
Yeah, I got it right here. Okay. It should be 2 articles.
Yes. But what was your correct? Well, just tell us your recollection. We'll get to the specifics in a second.
Okay, I had finished an exhausting day of coaching, and coaching, you're watching everything as a wrestling coach, and at the time, I wish there were videotaping of matches at the time, but we didn't have one, obviously, with the budget that we had at Edgemont High School for wrestling. It was all basketball, and I don't want to go into that, but that was the AD at the time of the school. But, I thought maybe a parent would bring a videotape and videotape their kid, But there were other folks that had videotapes, but that doesn't matter. That day, I had a severe headache that I never experienced before all day long. And I I can't say that this linked into the sighting or anything, but it was something that a headache that I never felt within me before. Now, the weird thing that I'm going to explain about this, when I was a kid, I had dreams of UFOs all the time. It was like I was actually out of my body looking out the window, and I lived on Joyce Road, 100 Joyce Road, and there were woods back in the day behind my house. I lived near Secor Road in Hartsdale, but there was a beautiful woods in back, and towards Mill River Road. I lived off Secor Road in Hartsdale, but kind of like Ardsley, Hartsdale area, and before Elmsford.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how old I was but I was really into UFO. It could have been projected from the newspapers that were in the 5 and 9 stores, the Margies, everything. Everything was like the Globe and the weird newspapers back then. But they always were not UFOs. But one was not a hokey crap, bull garbage with two-headed monsters and stuff. And it's about the mutilations, the cow mutilations.
Okay.
Do you remember I forget what the newspapers were, but
it was called the National Enquirer was one of those.
That's it, and they had the Globe too. Yeah,
and the Globe, they were the sort of sensationalist sort of papers with.
But they were always on UFOs, like the Barney Hill.
Now I got to say something about that. The guy that owned National Enquirer, Pope, he had actually worked in the CIA before he purchased the National Enquirer. I just want to add that in. And there's always been this suspicion that this was how the intelligence agencies funneled real information to the public without alarming them, which was to make it so sensationalized you just thought, you see it on the checkout stand on your way out, but you think, oh, that's just sort of hokey, but you see it and you get used to it. Anyway, go ahead.
And there were MK Ultra
articles.
Right. I was very much into ESP and Christian, but so I was, I had, so we were walking out into the parking lot. I want to take these guys home, and I'm looking, and people, you have to understand something. I trained in a martial art called traditional Wing Chun, and Grandmaster William Chung just turned 83. We were the only art to train the eyes at the time. Most athletes are doing eye exercises now, but we were a particular art that trained eyesight. Now you see it in all the I call them Kung Fu Louie movies, Kung Fu theater that used to be on Saturdays and stuff. You see the Shaolin priests, there's movies of the Shaolin priests training their eyes with eye exercises. But it's funny because there was the sports coaches at the time, and I went to a college and had a Bachelor of Science degree in physical education, and there were a lot of and it's still going on, ways to betterment of any kind of sport. And training the eyes helped us to really expand our eyesight and peripheral vision, and we check the elbow. So, so when you're getting good, you train your eyes to watch the elbow, and you could be in a restaurant and stuff like that. You try to visualize. This is Bruce Lee is such a great martial artist. We try to anticipate the movement of people. That's how we practice. We're not going to be. We're not trying to be obvious about it, but we try to with our eyes on peripheral vision, watching everything. If you ever watched my eyes, if I'm out anywhere, and I try to teach the police and the police forces this, when they ask about the exercise, I work out with a lot of police officers and stuff in the gyms I go to, and they see me doing certain things and have to have like exercise and stuff and strengthen body and do stretching and they're always watching because that's part of their job to make sure everybody's safe, especially now with what's going on. And I don't want to talk well too much on that, but people pray for Israel. Please do that every day. Unfortunately, one of my close friends that I played pool with had a family member that was killed by these. I don't want to even go into it, but I feel they are.
Yeah, we're all concerned about what's happening there, and we're sorry for your loss there. Yeah.
I don't want to go off track.
To take us back, so you were walking out with the wrestling team from the gym, and what?
I think it was Baumgarten and Mike Melman.
People that I knew. These are people from. These weren't.
And they made the tournament. They made it to this round of the tournament. So I think it was Saturday. It started Friday, but they won. And I was blessed because, these kids, the program was good at Edgemont, but it wasn't that good. But I was very blessed and worked very hard to build the program there. I just didn't get the backing that I wanted to. But these kids were great, and they took the time. I did everything in the world to help these kids, and they spent the time. The parents really appreciate it.
Yeah. And what did you see? Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm seeing something that's very, very. I don't usually look up or anything in the skies, but it was. I remember it being what would you call something like a cast over sky. There were no stars. You couldn't see any stars. It was just like a grayish, dark sky. No stars. Cloud over it. And I believe the article said it was before 7 o'clock.
Right. That's what you said last time. Yeah.
Yeah. I got the article right in front of me. I'm just looking at it, and just I'm trying to go back and forth with memorization of the incident. We're walking, and I think I noticed it first, and I was trying to get people to look at it, and everybody's, oh, that's a plane now, and they wanted to get home. I mean, I said, does anybody have a camera? Does anybody have a video camera? I was knocking on people's doors. Now, meanwhile, this thing, and please forgive me if I don't have the exact colors of this object correct. It's been a while of years. But I can tell you this. It was huge. It was triangular, and it was coming down very, very slow, like nothing I ever saw in my life. And it was a triangle, and I do believe on the right, it was an orange, cloud-like gaseous light. On top, it was a green, gaseous type light like I've never seen before, almost like a cloud instead of a light. And on the left, coming down, if you imagine, was that Mamaroneck Avenue, Simeon?
Weaver Street, yep.
Weaver Street. Is that called Mamaroneck Avenue?
It's around the same area, yep.
Okay, I thought it was about a greater highway than that. But it was floating and coming down slow. And I'm looking up. I didn't hear a sound. I thought I felt a vibration of a noise, maybe, like a low drone. I can't remember. I was too enthralled watching this thing, and it came over our head, and it wasn't that. I wish I knew how high I could see it was, but maybe 12,000 feet, maybe lower.
Sure.
Without maybe, but the fact is, it was just a triangle. I didn't see anything else but the triangle, and it came right over where our heads, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And Baumgartner is scared out of it, out of his wits. He never saw anything like it, and it all of a sudden it stopped, and it hovered, and all of a sudden this brilliant flash for a second, and then those lights slowly disappeared, like just into nothing. I believe maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then all of a sudden, the whole sky. This is probably what everybody saw, and it wasn't a triangle; it was an octagon of the most brilliant. It looked like the sun. Of gaseous, round, lights of gold, of yellow gold like the sun, the color of the sun. It lit up the whole sky. 2 on top, 2 to the right, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the left. If you could picture an octagon in the sky, that's what I saw. That's what everybody that Doug saw, Mike saw. I know they did, because they were so scared. But I was enthralled, because I said, "Oh wow, this is something, something special. This is not anything man-made." I said that to myself at the time, and I was like, "Wow, what is this?" I was like, and everybody's to this day, those kids asked me when I was coaching another team, Hastings, they asked me what was it, and I said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But anyhow, those lights finally dissipated and slowly, like, just dissolved in the sky, against the black sky. Now, I didn't see anything at all other than these lights. There was no material in there. It was like it was camouflaged. If there was anything solid about it, it was camouflaged into which UFOs do, by the way, into the sky, the color of the sky. And it was like I'd say a flat metallic black, maybe, if it was. But it blended into the background of the sky, whatever it was. And then, lo and behold, the original triangle appears. The lights up that were in the original triangle of that I said before, I believe, orange, red, and green. And it goes the other direction. And it starts going very slow and then going a little faster than it came down to us. But I'm telling you, and the article is wrong, it was going towards Pelham and Northshout and Mamaroneck and towards where the sound is, I guess, New York City, and then maybe in the Bronx. And I know this is that God's honest truth. All of a sudden, from, I guess, Connecticut, from the west, I believe, 2 fighter jets. I believe they were F-15s, or maybe Tomahawks at the time, at whatever was used by the Air Force at that time.
Those are, F-14s, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2 of them chased this when it was going towards New York City. And all of a sudden, the triangle was going very slow, like it was playing with these F-15s, and then, whoa, it just got out of there so fast, faster than anything I've ever seen. And I believe in my day was going towards New Jersey.
That's what you said last time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyhow, we were like flabbergasted. I was asking if people had a camera, if anybody's seen this, and it seemed like nobody saw it. It was like, oh, that's a plane. That was a plane. I said, oh, yeah, with 2 F-15s chasing it. So we were like mesmerized and stunned, and I don't know, maybe the kids were scared, like near me, hovering near me. I didn't want him out of my sight, and that's my job as a coach anyhow. That's my responsibility. And then we were like in shock of what we saw. I remember, and they're smart kids. They're very intelligent kids that go to students at Edgemont High School. So I don't know if we went over to Doug Baumgarten's father's house or Mike Melman's house, and Doug said, "You don't believe what we saw." And I started to explain to them what we saw and stuff like that. And then I said, "I want to make a report of this." And, I never got called by anybody. I didn't get called by any of the UFO people or anything like that. I just said, this is, what should we do? I was talking to their father, and for advice, I said, I don't know, but I want to report this somehow. I didn't go to Mamaroneck. I went to Pelham. Don't ask me why, but I went to the Pelham police.
You called the Pelham police. Yeah.
No, I was at the station. I talked to the officer.
Oh, you went to the station and reported it. Okay.
Yeah, that's where the mistakenness is. Okay? And so, I originally go, I want to report a UFO. And they looked at me incredulously like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, sure,
Yeah, sure, kid.
Everybody, you saw a UFO, okay. So I explained what I saw. I gave my credentials. I told them who I was. I said, I'm a pretty credible witness, and I have 2 kids with me that saw that. So after I explained what I saw to the 2 officers that were behind the desk, and I'm sure they were getting inundated with phone calls, but they didn't want, they don't want it real. So you know what? The officer, I guess it was the desk sergeant, he goes, yes, you want to know how accurate you are, sir? At the same time, I saw these lights in the sky. There was a total blackout in Pelham, and cars were Pelham and Mount Vernon, and I believe what's in the Bronx or Yonkers, which the Con Edison man was totally wrong about. Absolutely lied or whatever, and said there was no blackout when this occurred.
It's in the article. We'll read the article in a second. It's in the article, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Vinny.
And yeah. And so, and then he goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And, after I told the whole story, and then, he listened and he goes, yes, you're absolutely right. You're correct.
Total blackout in a lot of these towns. We'll get to that in a second. The article talks about that.
He said, at the exact time you said all this.
Exact time, blackout. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I got a piece of oak tag somewhere in one of the houses of one of the Doug or Mike, I forget who, and I drew everything that I saw on oak tag. I wanted as clear in my memory as I could. And we all got together and did this. And sure enough, I believe it was the next day, the article came out, and it said close encounter of the weird kind. And it wasn't these 2 articles. There's
another article, and they reference that. Yeah. Should we read one of the articles, Vinny, and we'll just compare it?
Sure.
Let's go with the one that comes out on the Wednesday. Vinny's referring to the first article, which we haven't found, but they refer to it here. Let's just read it. This is from the Reporter Dispatch, Daily Times. I delivered the Reporter Dispatch. I was a paper delivery boy, and I walked those neighborhoods and delivered papers, and that was, my first job. So this is Daily Times, another paper. It says, UFO, I'm going to put it up on the screen and then I'll read it at the same time. Let's see, where is it again? Here it is. Okay, so it says UFO report filed, because you guys can't see it on the screen, perhaps, or maybe you can, but here it is.
I have the one that says UFO report filed.
Yeah, I'm going to read it to everyone. Okay. There's a UFO report filed at the Mamaroneck Town Police Station. Among reports of car accidents, suspicious phone calls, sick raccoons, and bicycle thefts. Remember, folks, in the days, that was the main types of things we'd worry about. The Edgemont High School wrestling coach, who we're talking with right now, Vinny, who saw the unidentified flying object Saturday night, filed his report with police Tuesday evening. However, he called the Daily Times and other media Saturday night to report the sighting near the Homesock School. Is that it?
Yeah, the Hammock School.
Hammock School in Mamaroneck. Since printing a story about it on Sunday, so this would be the Wednesday following that Sunday, the Daily Times has not received any other reports of the sighting, which occurred shortly before 1 p.m. Is that right, or 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. It's a little blurry, folks.
That's a 7, yeah.
It's a 7, okay. The coach, Vincent Wims of Hartsdale, said 2 of the high school's wrestlers were with him and also saw so this all may not be correct. We're going to get Vinny's response in a second. Saw the unidentified flying object. 2 other wrestlers. Wims told a reporter on Saturday that the object hovered briefly over Weaver Street and then sped off like a shot towards New York City. Vinny originally told us it went towards New Jersey. A transparent triangular object with yellow, green, and red lights. And keep in mind, Vinny told us this before we found these articles, and he said the same thing if you listen in 2019. At 3 corners, lights at each of the corners. It appeared to be pursued by 2 planes, he said. The police report said the object was about 20 feet in diameter.
That's absolutely wrong.
Absolutely wrong, and made no noise.
It was probably a misprint. It was probably
200 feet.
200 yards long.
200 yards. That sounds more like it, Vinny. That's what other people said these things look like in the New York area. The lights appeared to...
It was at least 200 yards long.
At least 200 yards. Folks, that's 600 feet. That's...
I was a football coach, too, so I know how long...
Oh, you're good. So 2 football fields on each side. I love it. The lights appeared to be a gas or vapor that dissipated into the atmosphere, the coach told police, which is, you just described that effect. He said at one point the object emitted an orange light that lit up the entire sky. Whoa, I would have loved to have seen that one.
Yeah, I wish we were there.
So this is the first article, and we've already established that they got wrong the size. Did they get wrong the number of wrestlers?
I think that was accurate.
Okay, 2 people.
Well, I might have had more team members there, but I didn't take them home.
Okay.
So to speak. And I don't know if they saw this. I think they went their own separate way. These guys I took there, I was their responsibility.
Yeah. We'd have. By the way, people are saying thank you, Vinny. And we have a comment. Someone said they delivered the Sunday edition too of one of the papers as the good old days. That's how I remember them too. This guy name's Archaic. I remember them that way too because you got to meet your neighbors. You would collect, collection day and all this. You got to get to know your neighborhood. You know your neighborhood really well delivering those papers. Believe me. So let's look at the next article and we can get your reaction.
This one I love because I never saw this article.
Yeah, we got to thank you, Dom, if you're watching or later, for doing the work.
Yeah, Dom. Listen, I tried to research this, and I spent a day. I was up in New York. I had a friend that worked for the Reporters Dispatch from high school.
Yes.
He worked his name, I won't mind me saying it, Brian Moran.
Yeah.
And he worked, good friend. He wrote articles in Reporters Dispatch on music, and he was he was one of those guys, that did concert reviews.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Reporters Dispatch.
Reporters.
Yeah, I asked him. I said, "How do I get this?" He goes, "Go to the White Plains Library. It's got to be there."
And that's where Dom found it on microfiche. Good old microfiche, guys. Not digitized. It was on that old film, which is why it's blurry. Dom took pictures of this. This is why you see his phone at the top and everything.
Yeah.
I love delivering papers, by the way. It was a lot of fun. It was just time after school to have a, let loose a little bit, walk around
Yeah.
the neighborhood. And
Absolutely. Well, I delivered mail for 31 years. I know
oh,
what you're
oh,
saying.
you did. I loved that walking around the neighborhood. It felt like my hood, it was my neighborhood. I knew every street, every person who got the paper, and it was a good feeling. And for a teenager, the money was good. Okay, I bought a lot of.
Yes, it was.
I
I imagine.
I bought a lot of electronics and kits and stuff from Radio Shack with that paper route money, shortwave radios.
You know what? Radio Shack was great. And what was the other place that used? Because my father was a ham radio operator.
Oh, right.
The place on Central Avenue.
Forby's.
Forby's. That's where Crazy Eddie's used to be, right?
Yeah. And now I got a story about Forby's, guys. I went to a ET discussion group in Reno in 2016. It was invite only. It was like a mini conference.
Right.
And there was a guy there. He wrote a book about the boy who invented TV in Idaho. I forget his name, but I just saw it on Amazon again. Paul Schatzman or something. And we were talking, and he worked at Forby's. He worked at Forby's when you and I were there, Vinny. And I said, we probably met. Because I was into...
My father lived there because my father built radios.
So you would have met Paul Shatkin or something, and he wrote this book about who...
Sure, my father knew who he was, because my father used to... He built radios. He loved to build radios.
Yeah, I loved building radios too. I didn't get quite as complex as, I'm a kid, so I was building AM radios, not shortwave radios, and those were pretty expensive from... Heathkit.
Yeah, and he bought one for me for like my birthday or something like that.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Right. And this is, guys, in those days, before internet and stuff, if you were a kind of brainier teenager, assembling electronic kits was what you learned to do. And there was something exciting about creating communication and CBs and shortwave and ham. And so this guy, Paul, worked there in the 70s at Forby's, right down in Yonkers, Westchester, Yonkers border. And I said, we probably met before because I used to go in there. So, in any case, let's take a look. 6 come forward to back UFO report. Here's this article. And then we'll get Vinny's response. Witnesses 6 thus far are rallying to the support of the Edgemont High School wrestling coach. Yay! Who reported spotting a UFO hovering over Weaver Street near the Hommick School last Saturday evening. Exactly what Vinny told us. In fact, 3 Mamaroneck residents saw that unidentified flying object.
No, it says vow that the...
vow, excuse me.
Vow that the unidentified object has been there before.
It's very grainy, guys, in my printout from Microfiche.
I got a good copy.
Oh, okay. So you got you have original there, or is this Microfiche too?
I got the original. It's a micro original.
Oh, okay. So Charles Combe Jr., Palmer Avenue, Mark said he did not bother to report his sighting, sound familiar, last Saturday because no one did anything about it. Yeah, because it was a weather balloon, guys, or it was flocks of geese. That's why they don't do anything about it. Maybe it was ice crystals. When he reported, I know what it was swamp gas. When he reported seeing the same object in the same location 2 years ago. Okay, so now we're going back to 77, the year that Zeppelin came to Madison Square Garden. So now we're getting the Hudson Valley Triangle back to 77, folks, not the 80s. On both occasions, Comble said the object appeared over Frank and North Moochie home at Highview Street and hovered there for several minutes. Oh, repeat offenders. On both occasions, the object was clearly seen by Comble, his girlfriend Lynn, Moosey said, and Mrs. Moosey. Last Saturday, Mrs. Moosey only saw the lights of the UFO moving off towards Larchmont. My aunt and uncle lived in Larchmont, folks, so this is like home turf.
So my aunt,
really? So, guys, I just want to tell you, when Vinny and I were there in the 70s, Larchmont and Pelham, these were like rural places. This was like beyond suburbs. This was bordering on very rural. It was suburbs, but it was like.
Buffalo Bob lived in Marshmont. He was howdy doody.
Oh, Buffalo Bob. I mean, I remember Pelham from the 60s. This is south of Mamaroneck, more towards New York City. I mean, there were like fields at the end of the streets. There was undeveloped lots, and it was like bucolic. I mean, there were insects and bees and birds. This is the New York we're talking about from that era. But in any case, on both occasions, okay, it was seen by all of these people, and then they saw it again. So 2 years before. Seconds later, a Mamaroneck family of 3 driving north on Weaver Street spotted the UFO hovering over the New England Thruway. Yes, there you go. As the car turned onto Harmon Drive. Father, mother, and daughter all saw the object clearly, but begged, please don't give our names. We would be too embarrassed. Thank you, Project Blue Book, for making people feel embarrassed. We really appreciate this. Jeez. Too embarrassed. That's called stigma, folks, and that's the whole problem here.
So that's what was going on. Everybody was
Weaponization of stigma. Make people ashamed.
Everybody was a lunatic.
Yeah, and now all the lunatics are testifying behind closed doors in front of Congress, Vinny, as you probably are aware.
Well, I didn't have that problem. I didn't care what they thought of me.
Good for you.
What I saw, and I was going to make sure it got out there.
Good for you, Vinny. We appreciate your bravery.
I didn't care. I didn't even know about the Men in Black, but I would have punched them out if I saw them. And that's a fact, Jack.
Thank you.
If they tried to intimidate me.
You hear that, Men in Black? We got your number.
Well, I'm telling you, I was not one to mess with back then.
I bet.
And no one you could ask Dom about that.
Okay. I will ask Dom about that.
I wouldn't back down.
Vinny, I don't remember what you look like. I'm sure I would once I saw you. I probably.
You could ask the kids. They were terrified of me as a coach.
Oh, they were terrified of you. So you.
No, I wasn't that way.
Those little skinny Men in Black were not gonna, in their fedoras, were not gonna come mess with you.
I was just a good coach.
You're a good coach. Good coach. Okay. Good. So, does it say Mrs. X, in fact, only found... Is that Mrs.?
Yes, it says...
Mrs. X.
I have MTS...
X.
Period X.
Whatever that... What the heck does that mean?
It says only found the coverage to report the incident Sunday after... Maybe that's some kind of group or something. UFO group, maybe, or something. Oh... I don't know what MTS. Maybe it's a station or something, a radio station.
I don't know, but it says after reading the Daily Times that Vincent Wims, the Edgemont wrestling coach, thank you, would file a report of his sighting with Mamaroneck Town Police. Yeah, you were saying it was Pelham Police, right?
I'm positive it was Pelham.
Okay. The objects were seen by 2 members of the wrestling team. When I read that young man was willing to go out on a limb, whoa, I felt I had the duty to support him. So on Monday, I told town police what we had seen without giving my name. Mrs. X, it's Mrs. X, explained. That's a typo.
Okay, that's what it was, Mrs. X.
Wims filed his report on Tuesday, and this morning said he is still working with an artist on rendering the object.
I was the artist.
You were the artist, okay.
Yeah.
Wims, okay.
I wasn't working with any artist.
You were the artist.
Unless it was Doug and Mike, but I was the artist. Yeah,
Wims, good, that's good. Wims said that when he went to the police station, they believed it. Of course they did, because they saw this stuff. You know, there are a whole bunch of state troopers that saw this object or these objects later on. Yeah. The wrestling coach said he has since heard reports of power shortages in Greenwich, Connecticut, Pelham that coincide with the UFO sighting, which is what the police told you. However, a Con Ed spokesman said there were no outages in the area on Saturday. Boo! I'm not saying no individual customers from that area might have called, but there were no outages. So the police tell him, wow, Vinny, you won't believe this, but there's outages all the way from Greenwich down to Pelham. And now the Con Ed...
Yeah, at the exact time that you said you saw these objects.
Are lying to us yet again. The nerve of these people. I'm not saying they're not okay. The only Con Ed outage in West Evening occurred in Cortland around 5 p.m. related to a problem with an insulating wire. Sure. I don't believe that for a second. The UFO, which Wims said was flying below clouds at less than 1,000 feet in altitude, was being chased by a propeller-powered passenger plane.
Yeah, no.
Sure.
They were the fastest jets the
Okay.
United States Air Force
And
had at the time.
what appeared to be F-4...
Everything I didn't hear was a sonic boom.
What appeared to be F-4 Phantom jets. Those are Vietnam era planes, and that might have been, I don't know the history of flight. Maybe some of you listening now. But maybe that was the fastest thing we had in the late 70s. I don't know if the F-14 had been invented yet. Maybe we just still
using. It was an F-14, not an F-4. It was an F-14.
Oh, it was an F-14. Okay, that would be the Tomcat. So the article says F-4 Phantom, and you're saying F-14.
Yeah,
F-14 was what they had, I think, in Top Gun. The first Top Gun, right?
Yep.
Back then in the 80s, that would have been what they flew, right?
It was a misprint. They said F-4 and F-4.
So folks, one thing we're learning here, these articles can be wrong. You all know this, but I mean, we're getting this from the witness right here that they're messing up a lot of the details.
My brother was a commander of the Reserves Air Force in Buffalo. So I think I studied. We used to build models as kids and stuff like that. I think I know what these jets were. The Tomcats. Just an aside note. My brother was responsible for the scrambling of jets after the planes that went into the World Trade Center.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they didn't get them.
Yeah, and there were planes, folks. I have a lot of friends who think there weren't any planes. There were planes. One of my neighbors up there in Edgemont saw it with his own eyes because he worked there. He saw the second plane come in because there was a rumbling from the first, and they were told it was a oil tank that exploded in the first, the south. I think it was the South Tower. They said, "You go back to work. It's just it was a generator, diesel generator or something like that blew up." That's what they were. He went outside and then he saw the second plane come in. Anyways, Wims said that this morning the sighting, a light show beyond belief. This is what he just told us. A demonstration of which I've never seen before. So, Vinny, and Jules here, who's a friend.
I didn't do LSD. I wasn't.
No. Jules is saying.
Concerts. I don't use it as a musician, but I was a serious.
No.
A serious training.
I just want to say that Jules is saying Khan is the right Khan is the right first name there. Yeah, that's a good one, Jules. But no. So what we have here, to summarize, and we've gone about an hour here, so we'll start wrapping up. But we have other witnesses coming forward. They're not on the first day of the Saturday, the Sunday, or the Wednesday. They are on the third article on the following Thursday, January 11th, 1979. And what did they tell us? They were afraid. They were embarrassed to give their names. Guys, we've got a long ways to go. I know this is the 70s, but can you imagine feeling embarrassed to report something that you've seen that could be extraterrestrial or multidimensional or NHI? This is real stuff. We got a lot of witnesses here, and we have one. And again, Vinny doesn't really, I don't know Vinny, I don't hear about this until around 2018, okay? So 2019. Yeah. So this is 2019, this is 40 years later, I hear about this, folks. 79, 89, 99, 2009, 2019. 4 decades later, and this is happening to my schoolmates, Cliff, and others on the wrestling team. And they don't tell us about it. I think Dominic said that Clifford, if I'm not mistaken, said it was the scariest thing he had ever seen in his life. Does that sound about right, Vinny?
Yes, it does. That's what Dominic told me. He said they were terrified. They were terrified.
They were terrified. So, I want to thank Dominic for doing this research and
Oh, it was a yeoman's work. I'm telling you, between the two of us.
the Ring of.
It's a yeoman's work. But Ram is a really good researcher, and you know he'll dig into. He helps me a lot with stuff to find stuff.
Um, Sorry, Vince, my camera's going blurry. My expensive new high definition Logic tech is now blurry. I don't know why these things, the more sophisticated are, the can't focus. Let's see if the Ring can sometimes get it back. In any case, Vinny, I want to thank you very much, but I do want to get let's.
It's good to talk to you.
I want to see if there are any questions from. We've got a bunch of people listening. Does anyone have any questions? People are saying thanks to Dominic. Thanks, Vinny. Anyone want to ask any questions while we've got Vinny on the line? I personally, and there's a chat section here, Vinny, that they can type in and we can't talk. Maybe YouTube will add that in at some point. You can do that on StreamYard and other streaming services, but this is just limited to chat room. I can see their little photo, their little icon and their comments. But I think this is fascinating, and I think this proves that there can be things that people are seeing that we don't hear about for a long time because of the stigma. And you even go to the police like you did, Vinny, and they don't know what you saw either. And other witnesses said, "Yeah, we saw that 2 years ago, but we didn't say anything." I know right near Dominic's house when I read this book, Hudson Valley UFOs by Linda Zimmerman. She's a researcher in the Hudson Valley, Lower New York area, Catskill. There was a sighting not far from Dom's house in the early '80s of a disc right over there by at the end of his street. So
Pineville, New York, for some reason, is a hotbed of these. Correct?
Yeah, it is a hotbed, and I grew up there, and I don't remember seeing anything, but now we know that you saw things, other people saw things, and this happened in the '80s. I think we're told. Let me show you one more diagram here. This is I'm putting on Vinny. I'm putting on black and white drawings that someone put together of all these different boomerangs.
I'll be watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, you can see this towards the end. This is the different versions. It's pretty much different shapes. This one looks a little more like the F-117 fighter plane, which didn't exist obviously in the early '80s, but it didn't make its debut until about 10 years later, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe it existed as a prototype, but there are different versions of this triangular craft. I spoke to a person who was a friend of my mom, Steve, and he's told me, and I haven't gotten him on YouTube yet, but he said he was driving south on the Taconic coming back from skiing in upstate New York, and he saw this triangle coming away from Westchester Airport, but when it made a sharp turn, the wings didn't dip. It was that flat turn. No, not like a normal aircraft where the wings dip. It just turned. And then he stopped, and the police said, "What's going on?" And they said, "We just saw it too." So there's a lot, and this is again mid '80s. There's a lot of this type of activity, and again, the book is. If any of you want to learn more about these generalized sightings, the book is. It's called Night Siege by J.
That's what I want to read. Actually, that book.
It's by J. Allen Hynek and some others. Let me see if I can just get a picture of it. Here it is. I'm going to see if I can just quickly pull this off. See if I can quickly download this in any case. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can bring it up. Where's my screen here? 1 second. We had a question for you from one of our viewers here. Vinny, did you have any lingering effects from the sighting?
Only that I never forgot it in my brain. That it was. I mean, I'm 68 years old right now. I can remember it like it was yesterday. As far as effects like what, pinging, feeling in my head or any kind of like vibration. No.
No.
But I was, and one of my Sifu at the time told me that, I didn't see what I saw. I said, he's a very religious person. Dominic knows him. I don't want to reveal his name.
Right.
Well, he's suffering from Parkinson's right now. Just isn't me right.
So, because the reason Jules is asking this is sometimes people report lingering psychic effects. Seeing things.
I've always been. I've always had abilities psychically. So if you want to, I have other stories that would blow your mind as far as psychic and telepathy and being able to one of the styles of Kung Fu I studied was a very internal style based on the Tibetan Lamas and internal, where we tried to do astral projection before MK Ultra and all this other stuff. We were pretty successful at it.
Right. That's part of martial arts training. I mean, I have right in front of me, these are spoons that I saw a guy in Japan bend just with very little pressure.
I don't know how. Who was the guy? Yuri Geller? That was
yeah.
And he was proved a fraud, I guess.
Not according to my conversation with Russell Targ. Russell Targ said he could. I know this is the prevailing view, but I asked Russell about this.
Who was the famous magician?
I'll tell you what. Oh, that was Randy.
Randy.
Yeah, when he says everything's a fraud, I talked to Russell, and Russell said they had Uri Geller locked in an electromagnetically shielded room. His hands were restrained to a chair voluntarily. And Russell said things moved physically in the other room. I have seen people, and I'm holding this up, you can't see this many, but this is spoons that I saw this guy near north of Nagasaki when I taught remote viewing in Japan, and he could levitate small objects, twist metal like this with very little pressure, twist glass bottles, Coke bottles into like a liquid. I saw this before my eyes, and he directed a cigarette into my pocket from 15 feet in my shirt pocket, and it made a right angle turn in front of me and dove into my shirt pocket. So I know PK Nina Kalugina from Russia, Soviet Union. I mean, there are films of her on YouTube you can see with all these scientists around, and these things are levitating, and they've controlled every possible area of fraud. So
I believe that could be. I just believe there's a lot of hokey, garbage martial arts.
I'm sure.
Stuff out there, and I love watching these charlatans. Come on. I've been studying martial arts for over 50 years. You're going to tell me that I can stand in front of somebody, hold my hand in front of them, and they're going to go flying 20 feet? Come on.
But I've seen demonstrations of
George Dillman.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, prove it to me. Prove it to me. I mean, listen. I definitely believe there's some stuff that happened. My faith in God and whatever is pretty. My faith is through the roof.
Yeah.
I feel myself and know that these energies are real.
No. I'm convinced that PK is real. It doesn't mean every demonstration of it is real. There are.
I'm just talking about just these people. They go from one thing, learning martial arts into these,
Yeah, I know. We know what you're saying. Yeah, there's. I want to point out that even and this applies to the UFO field too. I have been around people that turned out later to be what I consider to be what you would call a hoaxer. I mean, they constructed these events. They created stuff. But here's the thing. Even if you have people out there, that doesn't mean that the 10 or 20% of it that's real isn't real. We still have real sightings like yours, even if they're things that could be computer generated. It doesn't mean that phenomena is real. I think we should all keep that in mind. And just because there are people that pretend to do PK doesn't mean that there aren't real people like I've seen, or Nina Kaligina, who were able to do this, and scientists that even doubted it were convinced. In my case, Sony, I was told by one of my RV students in Japan, he was friends with one of the CEOs of Sony, and they went with their best cameras to film this guy north of Nagasaki. And they said at 10,000 frames a second, there were no wires, there were no tricks, there was no sleight of hand. They couldn't explain it. I think it has to do with relic, cold neutrinos, a flux, kind of a dark matter flux that we can cultivate and project. But they said they didn't think there was anything hokey about it. But in any case, folks, any other questions? Hi, Rob. Nice to have you here. Any other questions, folks, from our listeners before we disband for the evening? Vinny, this has been fascinating, and I appreciate you.
You're the best. I'll tell you, I loved your book.
Thanks.
I'm rereading it.
Which one?
The one you just wrote.
Oh, Dark Matter Monsters.
I love it.
I am so gratified that this is usually in the top 10 in electromagnetics on Amazon, and it's often in number 1 next to Maxwell's equations and good books about Tesla. And there's.
I'm going, what is he talking about? So I'm rereading it and rereading it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated in Bigfoot.
While you're bringing up Bigfoot, and by the way, if you look at the sightings across the U.S., BFRO.org citing their sightings in Westchester over the years.
Oh, yes, they are.
Northern Westchester. My mom even said it, and she's 93. She said, let's go look for them. How about that?
And Catskills, New York, by the way, too.
Oh, Catskills. Oh, yeah, Whitehall. Although New York is full. Every state has a lot of this.
I live in a state on the East Coast that has supposedly a very prevalent.
Very prevalent. I am holding up a card, Vinny, here for the audience to see. This is a movie that comes out next week on the 17th. I'm told it's called A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. It's the sequel to A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, by Jill, Mike, and Brett from Portland, and it'll be on streaming services, and I'm in it, so you'll...
North Carolina, folks. I live in North Carolina.
Oh, you got enough of your Sasquatch over there, too.
Oh, yeah, the Smoky Mountains, and Black Mountain, and Grandfather Mountain, all towards the... not the Appalachian, the Smoky Mountains.
Yes, it's a whole... Okay, so let's talk about this just for a minute before we conclude for the evening. Stan Gordon, who I'll be interviewing again on November 14th. We did an interview in June. Stan Gordon being from Pennsylvania, Southwest Pennsylvania, who started studying this before some of us were alive, 1959. That's what he said. As part of the Westinghouse, informal Westinghouse UFO group, the engineers there that would do this at the end of the day, their own little informal UFO group. And he was the telephone guy, the kid who would answer the phone calls for them. That's how he got involved with this. And he said, I asked him, when did Bigfoot start showing up next to these UFOs in southwestern Pennsylvania? 1965, before Patterson Gimlin. And Stan, just in case anyone's interested, Silent Invasion, excellent book. And there's a newer one that he has. I think I've got it right here. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. I'm holding it up. This is his newer book, Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania. Stan Gordon. This is the guy that showed us these phenomena are connected, like it or not. They show up in the same areas. The UFOs, the triangular craft, he's got them in here. He just wrote me about a triangular craft sighting. We'll talk about this in the interview. A couple days ago, he said there was just another one in Pennsylvania, right around Bigfoot and other creatures that we don't even have names for, which raises many other questions, which we will discuss at another time. But anyway, Vinny, I want to thank you. Just stay on the line for a second as we conclude the call.
And God bless everybody out there in the audience.
Thank you, Vinny. And let's all we know these are challenging times, but let's stay positive. We will never let the terrorists win. Never.
No, and just give your faith to whatever your beliefs are, that whoever's overseeing us is going to not let that, these evil forces.
Right. We are not going to succumb to the terror and the fear. That's what they want. Don't Don't do that. We will get through this.
And stand strong.
Yes.
For Israel, whatever you do.
Yes.
In America, we are what some consider the second Jerusalem.
Yes, yes, we will. I think the forces of good will prevail. That's my view. Absolutely. So we were strong. My own.
I'm not afraid either way.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going to be going.
Yes. One more question, and then we'll call it quits, folks. Any thoughts on Yuri predicting some sort of contact in 2027? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't. Let me just say this. I wouldn't be surprised if anything happens now. And the reason is we're having congressional hearings. I got to speak to the person that was involved in organizing these hearings at the Vernal Phenomenon Conference in Vernal, Utah just a few weeks ago. Jay Stratton. And these hearings have been going on classified behind closed doors in SCIFs since 2017, since the New York Times article came out. I think because this is a topic of conversation legitimately in our society now, anything could happen now from the other forces, the other side. The Beans, whoever they're from, maybe they will start showing up more. So, Rob, maybe we don't know what'll happen. I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm going to say about it. And Rob's final comment is world champs. Yeah, I think we're going to have more contact just because I think it's just how the universe works is things come together over time and evolve. And I'm looking forward to a time when we don't have, like we saw in the article, people who are afraid to report seeing real things in the sky that are really there. Just like J. Allen Hynek, working for the Air Force, realizes it's not. Conversations like this helping to move the ball down the field to support our congressmen and women that are pushing for this and people behind the scenes who I'm sure we'll see more of. Remember my interview with Rick Doty at the MegaCon in 2019 where he told us about all sorts of details of these types of events and how it had been covered up for quite a while. He was involved with it. He would know. So in any case, thanks very much, folks. I appreciate you being here. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care for now. And we'll put you on this outro music, my song Beyond Distance, and we will talk to you another time. Thanks again, folks. Julie has the trailer. The trailer is up for, if you search for Flash of Beauty, Paranormal, Bigfoot, and Jules just put it up there. Thanks, Jules, for doing that. It's a good trailer. I saw a preview in Vernal. It's a lot of fun, this movie, and there's a lot of sightings in there with this. I will tell you one more thing about this movie before we break. There are witnesses and groups of witnesses that see things that are just unbelievable. And Bigfoot transforming itself, invisibility, orbs. It's a great movie. You're going to want to see it. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to put the outro music, and we will see you next time, folks. Thanks a lot, and take care.